Judith and Neely, born Judith and Adams in 1964 in Tennessee, endured a tough childhood after her father died when she was 9 and her mother struggled with alcoholism, meeting 26-year-old Alvin Neely at age 15 in 1979 while he was already a car thief with a criminal record and divorcing his first wife. They ran off together in 1980, married, and she gave birth to twins while incarcerated for robberies Alvin taught her, living a transient life of armed robberies, bad checks and CB radio games. He as Knight Rider, she as Lady Sundown, across Georgia and Alabama, small towns like Rome, Georgia and Fort Payne, Alabama, where people still left doors unlocked in 1982. The violence escalated that September. On September 11 someone fired 4 bullets into the home of Ken Dooley, a worker at the Rome Youth Development Center juvenile lockup, with no injuries. The next night a Molotov cocktail was thrown into Linda Adair's driveway, again no deaths. Then anonymous phone calls flooded in from a young woman's angry voice claiming abuse at the YDC, threatening "you both will die," using juvenile system lingo and insider terms that police couldn't trace but noted as female and youthful. On September 25, 1982, at Riverbend Mall in Rome, 13-year-old Lisa and Milliken from Cedartown, living at Ethel Harp's home for troubled girls with a history of running away, sexual abuse at home and foster placements, met Judith in the arcade. Judith, thinking Lisa resembled Joni from Happy Days, struck up a friendly conversation, offered a ride, and Lisa willingly left with her to avoid returning to the home. They drove for hours with the twins in the back seat to a motel in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, where Lisa was handcuffed to the bed on the floor for days, repeatedly molested and beaten by both Judith and Alvin while Judith injected her multiple times with Drano and liquid plumber drain cleaner in her neck, arms, and buttocks, believing it would kill her quickly and silently, but instead Lisa suffered excruciating pain, screaming as the chemicals burned through her system without killing her immediately. On September 28 they drove to Little River Canyon in Alabama, an overlook with rocky drops. While the kids slept in the car, Judith walked Lisa to a tree, gave more injections as Lisa begged to be returned to the home, then shot her in the back. When Lisa fell but didn't go over the edge, Judith pushed her body 80 feet down onto rocks and trash below, tossed her bloody jeans and syringes nearby, then called police from a payphone giving precise directions to a young girl's body, and taunted Rome PD with more calls. Lisa's body was found September 29 crumpled over a log by flashlight, shot, with needles and jeans on a branch confirming the horror. On October 4, 1982, 22-year-old Janice K. Chapman, engaged to John Hancock, accepted a ride from a woman in a brown Dodge while walking in Rome. The CB radio crackled with Knight Rider. They met Alvin in a red car with the kids. John switched vehicles and Janice stayed with Judith. They drove north into Alabama, then back to a dirt road where John was told to walk away and Judith shot him in the back. He played dead, survived and crawled for help. Janice was taken to a motel, tortured, raped, shot multiple times, and her body dumped off a back road in Chattooga County, Georgia. John Hancock later heard a recording of the Milliken taunt call and identified the voice as the woman who shot him. Police connected the YDC attacks, female caller, out-of-state girls at the center, and photo lineups where John and Debbie Smith, a girl Judith had previously tried to lure, positively identified Judith. On October 9, Judith was arrested in Murfreesboro on bad check charges. Alvin days later. Both confessed. Alvin blamed her as the mastermind and dangerous, drawing a map to Janice's body while Judith calmly detailed the YDC attacks, falsely claiming staff ran a prostitution ring, abductions, molestations, drain cleaner injections and shootings, saying of Lisa better she die than tell, and admitting extra shots to Janice to silence her. Evidence included handcuffs, CB radios, guns, knives at her mother's house. Alvin pleaded guilty in Georgia to avoid death and received life. Judith was tried in Alabama for Lisa's murder starting March 7, 1983, in a 6-week trial while pregnant with her third child, giving birth in jail, with defense claiming Alvin brainwashed, abused and controlled her as a slave. She smiled nervously on the stand, recounted beatings and rapes, said he ordered everything, but prosecution proved she acted independently at times, showed no fear or bruises, smiled in gun photos and witnesses saw her happy. The jury convicted her, recommended life 10-2, but Judge Randall Cole overrode on April 18, 1983, sentencing her to death in the electric chair at age 18, the youngest woman ever so sentenced in the U.S., and she later pleaded guilty to Janice's murder too. Appeals failed. Alabama Supreme Court upheld in 1989. On January 15, 1999, days from execution, Governor Fob James commuted her sentence to life citing the jury's recommendation amid huge controversy. making her parole eligible. Alvin died in prison October 21, 2005, at age 52. Judith remains at Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women in Wetumpka, Alabama, parole denied in 2014-2018, after a law blocking her was ruled unconstitutional, and May 25, 2023, Governor Kay Ivey opposed victims' families. Called her pure evil, board unanimous denial in 3 minutes. With her next chance in 2028 and as of February 2026 still serving life with no release. Lisa and Milliken, 13, troubled and trusting the wrong friendly smile, endured days of hell, molestation, beatings, burning drain cleaner injections, begging at the canyon edge before being shot and pushed over, while Janice K. Chapman, 22, simply walking home, was shot at, abducted, tortured, raped and killed in a spree where Judith picked vulnerable targets, planned meticulously, committed most acts herself, taunted police with calls like a game, and Alvin assisted before dying in prison, leaving behind 2 young girls forever scarred by the loss of trust, innocence, and lives to a teenage killer who smiled through it all with no easy explanation beyond abuse, choice, or something darker. Rhonda Belle Martin, born Rhonda Belle Tomley in 1907 in Alabama, worked as an ordinary-looking waitress, plump, auburn-haired, bespectacled, in Montgomery during the hard Depression and post-war years of the 1930s to 1950s, marrying 5 times and bearing several children while death shadowed her family relentlessly through slow, agonizing arsenic poisonings disguised as natural illnesses, starting in 1937 when her 3-year-old daughter Emmeline Garrett vomited violently and died with doctors attributing it to natural causes, allowing Rhonda to collect a small insurance payout just enough for burial expenses. In 1938 her second husband George Garrett suffered the same slow decline, stomach burning, numbness, paralysis, after months of poisoned food or drink and died, yielding another modest insurance sum. 1939 brought the death of 6-year-old daughter Anna Carolyn Garrett under identical symptoms and another insurance collection. 1940 claimed 11-year-old daughter Ellen Elizabeth Garrett the same way with yet more payout. In 1941 her own mother Mary Frances Gibbons succumbed to the same gradual poisoning and insurance followed. The pattern paused until 1951 when her 4th husband Claude Carroll Martin, 51, began wasting away after Rhonda laced his morning coffee and food with rat poison over months, leaving him paralyzed and in agony before he died on April 27, 1951, enabling her to cash about $2,750 from 3 small life insurance policies, enough for funeral costs and a little extra. Then just 8 months later on December 7, 1951, she married her much younger stepson Ronald Martin, 29 years her junior and recently discharged from the Navy, who soon fell violently ill with the same arsenic symptoms, survived after 9 months hospitalized and paralyzed from the waist down in Biloxi, Mississippi, but his case finally triggered suspicion when doctors tested and confirmed arsenic. Police exhumed the bodies of Claude, the 3 daughters, her mother and earlier husbands, finding high levels of arsenic in hair, nails and tissues confirming chronic administration over weeks to months with fatal doses at the end. Rhonda was arrested in Mobile in March 1956 at age 49, interrogated intensely, and signed a confession admitting to 6 murders, her mother, 2 husbands including Claude, and 3 daughters, explaining she used rat poison but offering no clear motive beyond vague statements like, "I can't understand it, I had no reason," or in some accounts, "I guess I loved them to death," while denying responsibility for 2 other children's deaths. Prosecutors pointed to the consistent small insurance collections as the motive, never large windfalls, just burial money and minor relief amid her financial struggles. Though psychiatrists testified she suffered permanent schizophrenia or insanity rendering her not responsible, she was tried only for Claude's murder in June 1956 in Montgomery, where the jury heard her confession, exhumation evidence, insurance records and testimony proving she knew right from wrong and planned the slow killings, including marrying her paralyzed stepson shortly after poisoning his father, leading to a 3-hour deliberation, first-degree murder conviction, and a death sentence by electric chair upheld by the Alabama Supreme Court in March 1957 after appeals failed. On October 11, 1957, at age 50 in Kilby Prison, Rhonda ate her last meal of hamburger, mashed potatoes, cinnamon rolls and coffee, wore a new black and white dress with her wedding ring, wrote in her Bible requesting her body be donated to science, to find out why I committed the crimes, something wrong, save someone else the agony, walked calmly to the chair at midnight, shook her head when asked for final words, endured a false start when electrodes were improperly connected, then was executed with 2,200 volts, stiffening and dying as the last woman put to death in Alabama's electric chair before the method was discontinued for female inmates. Ronald Martin survived as her final victim, left paralyzed, while the little girls, Imogen at 3, Anna at 6, Ellen at 11, endured days or weeks of stomach cramps, burning pain, vomiting, and slow paralysis at the hands of the mother who fed them poison and meals they trusted, alongside husbands and her own mother who drank her coffee and ate her food believing her care, all for small insurance sums that barely covered funerals with no grand wealth gained and no coherent explanation ever given beyond her courtroom shrugs of no reason, leaving a chilling legacy of a seemingly ordinary waitress who quietly poisoned her entire close family one cup, one bite at a time over 14 years until the electric chair ended her at 50 with no answers from science or confession, only bodies in graves and one paralyzed stepson bearing the scars of the woman who killed his father and tried to kill him too. Jessica McCord, born Jessica Callis in the late 1980s in Alabama, met popular high school student Alan Bates while she was a goth, antisocial teen. She got pregnant quickly, they married young and had 2 daughters, Gabrielle and Madeline, but the marriage collapsed fast amid her demanding behavior, possible affairs and Alan's efforts to balance work, college and family peace, leading to divorce in 1995 where Jessica received primary physical custody, Alan got visitation rights and child support obligations and both soon remarried. Jessica to Pelham police officer Jeff McCord in June 2000 after meeting him while she worked as a Birmingham PD dispatcher and he as an officer, while Alan married art historian Tara Clue, a kind and stable woman who genuinely loved and bonded with the girls. Jessica immediately resented Tara as a stepmother and began systematically blocking Alan's access, shortening visits, imposing arbitrary rules, changing phone numbers without notice, moving the girls to her mother's house without telling him, and ignoring court-ordered visitation schedules and weekly phone calls despite repeated warnings and contempt findings from the court, including a 10-day jail stint for her in December 2001 during which she reportedly read murder mysteries that later seemed to inspire her. By late 2001 Alan, fed up with the obstruction and supported by Tara, pushed aggressively for modification toward full custody, planned to relocate the girls to Maryland with him and Tara for a more stable environment, and scheduled depositions in Alabama for February 15, 2002, intending to pick up the girls afterward, drive to Atlanta to visit his parents, and strengthen his case. On February 15, 2002 Alan, 31 and Tara, 30 flew in from Maryland, rented a car, and arrived at the McCord home in Hoover, Alabama. A note on the front door read, "Come to back. Front door trouble." So they walked around, Jessica greeted them warmly, invited them inside to sit on the couch, smiled, said the girls were in the back room and she'd get them, then left the room. Moments later Jeff McCord entered armed with a gun and fired 4 shots into Alan and 4 into Tara execution style, killing both instantly with bodies slumping in blood on the couch. Jessica had planned the ambush for weeks, deliberately sent the girls to her mother's house to keep them away, lured Alan and Tara under the pretense of a normal visit during the custody depositions, and watched or assisted as Jeff pulled the trigger, motivated by fear of losing the girls to Alan and the child support income, mounting personal debts, unemployment and deep vindictiveness toward her ex and his new wife. After the shootings the couple stuffed the bodies into the trunk of the rental car, drove hours to a rural wooded area off I-20 near Rutledge in Morgan County, Georgia, dumped the vehicle, poured gasoline over it, and set it on fire hoping the blaze would destroy evidence. They returned home, frantically cleaned the scene by ripping out bloody leather from the couch, replacing floor tiles, slapping on new wallpaper sloppily, patching a bullet hole in the wall, and missing some blood spots on the coffee table. They fabricated an alibi involving buying Lord of the Rings movie tickets and a Home Depot visit around Valentine's Day plans. When Alan and Tara failed to arrive in Atlanta, his parents called frantically, phones went unanswered and panic spread. On February 16 a farmer reported the fire, authorities found the burning rental car with charred bodies in the trunk, and though the license plate melted the vehicle was traced to Mavis Rental in Birmingham, quickly linking back to Alan. Hoover police searched the McCord home February 17, found no one home, forced entry, discovered the rushed remodel, bullet hole, blood traces, and later matched ballistics to slugs in the bodies while a paper towel scrap near the fire scene matched kitchen roll from the McCord house used to ignite the gasoline. Jessica and Jeff were arrested swiftly and charged with 2 counts of capital murder each. Jeff pleaded guilty in April 2003 to avoid the death penalty, received 2 consecutive life sentences with parole eligibility after 24 to 25 years, provided full details of the murders to prosecutors, and agreed to testify if needed. Jessica went to trial in February 2003, exactly 1 year after the killings, was convicted on both capital murder counts, with the jury recommending life without parole and Judge Virginia Vinson imposing that sentence on April 25, 2003. Her only character witness was her own mother. Prosecutors painted her as vindictive with a history of violence, including being fired from Birmingham PD in 2000 for attacking Allen and going absent without leave, and her defense, crying on the stand claiming Allen had a dark side and tried to take the girls, failed to sway the jury. Jeff later divorced Jessica, who began going by Jessica Bates again. His first parole hearing around 2017 was denied with no public confirmation of later grants as of recent years. Jessica remains serving life without parole in the Alabama women's prison system, likely at Julia Tutwiler or a similar facility, with no possibility of release. The girls, Gabrielle, 12, and Madeline, 10, at the time, lost their father and stepmother in a single afternoon because their mother refused to relinquish control. We're told Allen never showed up when in reality he died in their home, and grew up amid the shattered aftermath of a custody battle that escalated from ignored court orders and blocked visits to premeditated double murder, a burned car in the woods, and permanent family destruction driven by spite, financial motives, and an unwillingness to let go. Audrey Marie Hilley, born Audrey Marie Frazier on June 4, 1933, in Anniston, Alabama, married Frank Hilley in May 1951 at age 18, and they had two children, son Michael and daughter Carol, living what appeared to be a normal small-town life in Calhoun County until the mid-1970s when Frank began suffering from severe nausea, stomach pain, and weakness that doctors diagnosed as a virus or infectious hepatitis, leading to his hospitalization and death on May 25, 1975, at age 45 with no poison tests performed since symptoms matched hepatitis, allowing Audrey to collect $31,140 from his life insurance policy she had secretly taken out, after which she buried him quickly and moved on without suspicion until 3 years later in 1978 when she purchased a $25,000 life insurance policy on teenage daughter Carol plus a $25,000 accidental death rider effective that August for a total potential $50,000 payout. By August 1979, Carol started showing identical symptoms: persistent vomiting, nausea, numbness in hands and feet, weakness, foot drop, lost reflexes, malnutrition, and vitamin deficiencies, leading to multiple ER visits and hospitalization at Caraway Methodist Hospital where doctors were baffled and one suggested psychosomatic issues or psychiatric evaluation. But while Carol was there, Audrey secretly administered injections she claimed were from a nurse friend to help the nausea, worsening the condition dramatically until transfer to University of Alabama Hospital where tests revealed heavy metal poisoning with hair showing arsenic levels up to 50 to 100 times normal and spots indicating chronic buildup over 4 to 8 months plus recent larger doses. And on October 3, 1979, Frank's body was exhumed revealing massive arsenic in hair, 10 times normal, and toenails, 100 times normal, confirming chronic poisoning over months with an acute fatal dose at the end. Audrey was arrested October 9, 1979, initially on bad check charges, written to Carol's insurance company for a lapsed policy, while police found a vial with arsenic traces in her purse and later a rat poison jar containing 1.4 to 1.5% arsenic at her mother-in-law's home, but she bonded out November 9, checked into a motel as Emily Stevens, vanished between November 9 and 18, leaving a note suggesting possible kidnapping. Then on November 19 her aunt's house was broken into with car, clothes, and bag taken plus a threatening note not to call police or face arson, leading to her indictment in absentia January 11, 1980, for Frank's murder while a massive FBI hunt failed for 4 years as she fled to Florida, assumed the identity Robbie Hannon, met and lived with John Homan, married him May 1981, moved to New Hampshire, then in late summer 1982 left claiming family business or illness, invented a twin sister Terry in Texas, called John as Terry to say Robbie died in Texas with body donated to science so no need to attend, changed appearance by cutting hair and losing weight, returned November 1982 as Terry Martin the grieving sister-in-law to live with John again, even planting a fake obituary for Robbie that drew police suspicion when they couldn't verify it, leading to interrogation where she confessed her true identity as Audrey Marie Hilley. Extradited to Alabama in January 1983, tried in 1983, convicted June 8 of Frank's murder, life sentence, and attempted murder of Carol, 20 years. She was a quiet model prisoner earning one-day passes and always returning until February 19, 1987, when granted a 3-day furlough to visit second husband John Homan, who had moved to Anniston to be near her, at a motel where they spent time together before he left, and she vanished again with a note saying, "Forgive me, don't want prison." prompting a search that ended February 26 after 4 days of cold rain and near-freezing temperatures when police received a call about a suspicious person and found her soaked, muddy, incoherent, and crawling from woods onto a porch near her birthplace in Blue Mountain, suffering severe hypothermia with body temperature at 81 degrees, rushed to Northeast Alabama Regional Medical Center where she died that afternoon at age 53 from exposure and hypothermia after a brief fight including convulsions and heart/lung failure. Additional suspicions lingered: arsenic traces in her mother-in-law's system, non-fatal, neighbors' children sick years earlier with one dying in 1975 later testing normal for arsenic, police getting stomach cramps after her coffee, and psychiatrists noting deeper motives beyond insurance like resentment, control issues, jealousy over Carol, possibly believing her lesbian or favored by Frank. Though she claimed blackouts never explained leaving Carol, who survived barely after near-fatal poisoning, possibly facing lifelong numbness or wheelchair issues, to grapple with betrayal by her own mother who charmed, poisoned slowly via food/drinks/shots, collected money, reinvented herself twice fooling a new husband, faked death, escaped prison briefly, then froze alone in the woods she once knew, ending a twisted life of deception, greed, and quiet family destruction without any grand twist, just arsenic, lies, and a final porch in the rain. Tracy Grissom, a 30-year-old woman from Northport, Alabama, shot and killed her 28-year-old ex-husband Hunter Daniel Grissom on the morning of May 15, 2012, at the Binion Creek boat landing on Lake Tuscaloosa after pulling into the parking lot supposedly to take a photograph of him working there as proof for their ongoing divorce and child support dispute, but the encounter quickly turned deadly when Hunter spotted her car, gave her an aggressive look and flipped her off, then began walking toward her vehicle while reportedly yelling to his co-worker William Dockery to call the law, prompting Tracy, claiming she feared for her life due to years of alleged abuse including a brutal November 2010 assault where Hunter had bound her ankles with his belt, choked her with a drumstick, raped and sodomized her, knocked her unconscious, and threatened to kill her if she reported it, to step out of her still-running car and fire 6 shots into his back as he either approached or tried to flee, leaving him face down in a pool of blood next to his truck. She immediately called 911 herself to report the shooting, was arrested on the spot, and charged with murder while Hunter, already facing pending charges of first-degree rape, sodomy, unlawful imprisonment and drug offenses stemming from Tracy's earlier report, was declared dead at the scene, after which prosecutors argued the killing was premeditated and motivated by a desire to collect on his $100,000 life insurance policy, rather than genuine self-defense. Though Tracy's defense insisted she acted out of terror and post-traumatic stress from documented injuries including severe rectal and vaginal damage, a colostomy bag, multiple surgeries, hysterectomies, panic attacks and night terrors witnessed by her friend Lauren Richards, who photographed bruises and black eyes, and domestic violence counselor Marion Waters, who called the 2010 attack the worst she had seen in 20 years. Yet during her August 2014 trial, the judge restricted detailed testimony about the alleged rape and abuse to avoid prejudicing the jury, leading to her conviction on murder charges despite her tearful testimony that she had no plan to kill and only fired when she felt trapped with her car at risk of rolling into the water. At the September 2, 2014 sentencing hearing, Hunter's devastated family, including his mother Melanie Garner, sister Chloe and Aunt Gina, begged for a harsh penalty, describing the lifelong pain of losing a loving father and hard worker whose young daughter was left patting and kissing his gravesite, while Tracy's supporters, including juror Janice Kelly who publicly stated she believed Tracy did not get a fair trial because the rape evidence was withheld and would have led to a hung jury, and the jury foreman's letter calling the act a crime of passion, rather than a financial plot and expressing regret over the lack of abuse context, urged leniency, yet Judge John England sentenced her to 25 years in prison, eligible for parole, though she remained in Tuscaloosa County Jail initially while her attorney Warren Freeman pursued a new trial motion based on evidentiary errors and an unexplained improper item seen by jurors during deliberations, leaving behind a 5-year-old daughter caught between 2 grieving families, an online support group pushing for domestic violence law changes, and lingering questions about whether this was cold-blooded revenge or the final desperate act of a broken survivor who had endured too much for too long. Amy Bishop, born April 24, 1965, a Harvard Ph.D. in genetics and former biology professor at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, carried out a shooting rampage on February 12, 2010, during a routine biology department faculty meeting in room 369 of the Shelby Center for Science and Technology, where she sat quietly for 30 to 40 minutes among about 12 colleagues before suddenly standing up, pulling out a 9mm Ruger handgun she did not have a permit to carry and methodically shooting those closest to her execution style in the head, starting with Department Chairman Gopi Padala, then Biology Professor Maria Ragland Davis, then Professor Adrielle Johnson, killing all three instantly while wounding three others, Luis Rogelio Cruz Vera, Joseph Leahy, and staff assistant Stephanie Monticchiolo, who dropped to the floor or survived after she attempted to shoot biochemistry professor and graduate Dean Deborah Moriarty, but the gun clicked empty or jammed, allowing Moriarty and others, including Associate Professor Joseph Ng, to rush her, push her out of the room, and block the door to save the remaining lives as she appeared first angry then perplexed. Bishop fled the building, ditched the gun in a second-floor bathroom, was arrested minutes later outside, initially denied the shooting saying, "It didn't happen, there's no way, and they're still alive," while her husband James Anderson picked her up after she called him but was not charged, though neighbors saw the couple leaving home with duffel bags the afternoon before, and he had taken her to a shooting range recently where she borrowed the weapon. This wasn't her first violent incident. On December 6, 1986, at age 21 in their Braintree, Massachusetts home, Bishop fatally shot her 18-year-old brother Seth Bishop with a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun, firing at least 3 times. One into her bedroom wall, one into his chest in the kitchen in front of their mother Judy, one into the ceiling while fleeing, then pointed the gun at a passing vehicle and tried to carjack employees at a nearby auto dealership by brandishing it to demand a car, yet the Braintree police initially ruled it an accidental discharge based on her and her mother's statements, released her to her influential mother, a town meeting member who reportedly demanded to meet the chief personally, with no charges filed despite state police involvement, missing files by 1988, and later conflicting accounts from officers who felt frustrated over the release. The case reopened after the 2010 shooting, files mysteriously found in 2010, leading Norfolk DA William Keating to charge her with first-degree murder in June 2010 for Seth's death, though Massachusetts ultimately did not pursue extradition or trial after her Alabama life sentence, citing the existing penalty. Other red flags surfaced. In 1993, Bishop and her husband were suspects in a failed pipe bomb letter sent to her former Harvard Medical School/Children's Hospital supervisor Paul Rosenberg after she resigned amid a negative evaluation and dispute, with Anderson reportedly telling a witness he wanted to shoot, stab or strangle the man, but the ATF/USP's investigation closed without charges for lack of evidence after the couple refused cooperation, polygraphs or searches. In 2002 at an International House of Pancakes in Peabody, Massachusetts, she punched a woman in the head over the last booster seat while yelling, "I am Dr. Amy Bishop," pleading guilty to misdemeanor assault and disorderly conduct, receiving probation but no clear anger management. At UH since 2003, colleagues described her as abrasive, entitled, bizarre in meetings with left-field tangents, strange, crazy, out of touch with reality, interrupting with odd behavior, and students repeatedly complained about her ineffective, unsettling teaching, with petitions to administrators yielding no changes, while she filed an EOC gender discrimination complaint after tenure denial in March 2009, citing a colleague calling her crazy, appealed unsuccessfully, faced her final semester ending March 2010, approached trustees and hired a lawyer over publication timing disputes, wrote unpublished novels including one about a female scientist fighting a virus pandemic amid suicidal thoughts over tenure fears, and claimed Harvard credentials and cousin ties to novelist John Irving for writing credibility. After the 2010 shooting, police searched for a rumored herpes bomb, booby trap in the building due to her past virus work and a novel plot but found nothing. Bishop was charged with 1 count of capital murder and 3 counts of attempted murder, held without bail, placed on suicide watch after arraignment, attempted suicide in jail in June 2010 shortly after the brother indictment, survived hospitalization and returned to custody. Her attorney initially floated severe mental issues like paranoid schizophrenia but retracted, noting memory gaps and possible insanity evaluation, while she expressed sorrow. On September 11, 2012, she pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty after victims' families petitioned against it, received life without parole on September 24, 2012, following a brief jury evidence review as required by Alabama law. She has since appealed multiple times, including in 2024 and January 2025, all rejected by the Alabama Supreme Court, and remains serving that sentence with no parole possibility. Her 4 children with husband James, who retained custody, Left dealing with the aftermath of a brilliant but unraveling mind that escalated from family tragedy covered up, through escalating outbursts, to a cold, targeted execution of colleagues over professional rejection. August 16, 2008. A 6-year-old boy burns alive in his bed. A mom runs out of her burning house. She's holding her 4-year-old tight. She's dressed. Phone in her pocket. No smoke on her clothes. No burns. But her 6-year-old autistic son? He's still inside. Screaming? Coughing? Nobody knows. Because she didn't go back for him. Why would a mother leave her kid to die like that? Especially when she bought a huge life insurance policy on him. The day before? This is the story of Christy Michelle Scott. And trust me, once you hear what really happened, you won't be able to look away. It's a small town. Russellville, Alabama. Franklin County. Population barely cracks 10,000. People wave at each other. Kids play outside. Nobody thinks the monster lives next door. Christy was 30. Born in 78. Married to Jeremy Scott. They had 2 boys. Noah 4. Mason 6. Mason had autism. He didn't talk much. Needed things just so. Routines mattered. Jeremy traveled for work a lot. Left Christy home with the kids most of the time. Money was always tight. Bills kept coming. They had some insurance on the family. But it wasn't enough. Not for what was coming. August 15, 2008. One day before everything changed. Christy goes out. Buys a new $100,000 accidental death policy. Only on Mason. It pays if he dies in an accident. She signs. Pays the fee. Walks away. Why insure your 6-year-old boy for that much? Right then. Then the clock hits 2:30 a.m. on August 16th. Fire starts. In Mason's bedroom. Experts later say someone helped it along, something to make it spread fast. Christy and Noah are in her room sleeping. Jeremy's gone, business in Atlanta. Smoke rolls in thick and black. The smoke alarm? Ripped right off the wall. Wires dangling. Battery pulled out. Not burned off by the fire. Someone took it down on purpose. Christy grabs Noah. Runs straight out the front door. Fully dressed. No pajamas. Phone ready. No thick soot on her. No coughs. Nothing. She bangs on the neighbor's door. Jennifer Davidson opens up. Christy stands there with Noah. Says, Mason's still inside. Jennifer calls 911 quick. Firefighters roll up. Flames licking out of Mason's window. They fight in. Go back in. Again. Finally reach him. He's curled in his room. Burned bad. Lungs full of black smoke. Dead from breathing it and the heat. He never made it far. Never really woke up enough to run. Christy stays outside. Crying. Shaking. But something's off. Fire guys notice it fast. Fire started right near his bed. Burn marks don't look like a normal electrical spark. Smells wrong, like something poured on. And that smoke detector? Not melted. Dismantled. Picture this. A 6-year-old boy. Scared of loud noises. Hates change. Trapped in choking smoke. Can't yell clear. Mom's right there, close enough to hear if he could scream. But she grabs the other kid. Leaves him behind. Why save one and not both? Investigators step in. Standard when a kid dies in a fire. They talk to Christy. She says bad wiring. Says she tried to get Mason but the smoke stopped her. But the holes pile up quick. She was dressed at 2:30 a.m., not sleepy clothes. Phone in her pocket, like she was ready. No real smoke damage on her body or clothes. No? Not a mark. Then the insurance hits them like a truck. That new policy. $100,000 on Mason. Accidental only. Taken out yesterday. Total possible payout across policies? Around $175,000. Motive staring them in the face. But wait, there's worse. Christy's dad gets put on the stand later. Under tough questions he admits it. His daughter was linked to at least 3 other fires before. Sketchy ones. Ones that might have paid out too. A pattern. Fires. Money. Now a dead kid. September 2008. Grand jury hears it all. They hit her with capital murder. 3 counts. Killing him during arson for cash. Killing during arson. Killing a kid under 14. October 26, 2008. They arrest her. No bond. She sits. Trial kicks off June 2009. Longest in Franklin County history. 4 weeks straight of witnesses. Prosecutor Joey Rushing lays it bare. Insurance timing. Ripped alarm. Fire starter signs. Old fires. Broke family. No real save attempt on Mason. Defense lawyer Robert Tootin pushes back hard. Electrical accident. Christy loved Mason. Autism made life tough. No one saw her light anything. Jury hears the ugly parts. How they found Mason's body, crawled a little, then stopped. Autopsy showed smoke deep in his lungs. He hurt bad before the end. Photos in court. Charred little kid. Blackened room. Melted bed. After weeks of it and 2 days thinking guilty. All 3 counts. Sentencing. Jury votes 7-5. Says life. No parole. But August 5, 2009. Judge Terry Dempsey takes the bench. Back then, Alabama let judges override juries on death cases. He reads the facts. Murder for money. Kid under 14. Slow, painful death. Nothing good enough to balance it. He looks at Christy. Says clear, justice must be served, and the only way justice can be served in this case is by death. Death sentence. First woman ever in Franklin County to get it. She heads to death row at Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women. Appeals roll in. October 2012. Alabama Appeals Court says yes. All judges agree. 172-page write-up. Calls it horrific murder. Says death is right. No big trial mistakes. 2014. State Supreme Court upholds it too. 2015. She asks the U.S. Supreme Court to look. Says the judge override was wrong. They say no. Alabama stops judge overrides after 2017. But old cases? Stuck. So her sentence holds. Right now, early 2026, she's still there. On death row. No date set for execution. One of the women waiting in Alabama. Think about Mason again. 6. Needed his mom every day. Trusted her completely. She supposedly took the alarm down. No warning scream. Set the fire. Walked out with cash in mind. Saved the little one. Left the harder one behind. Was he too much work? Too expensive? Was $175,000 worth more than his life? She never said sorry in any paper. Never confessed. Still fights every appeal. The house. Gone now. Probably rebuilt. Mason's gone forever. And Christy waits. For the day they come for her. Or for years to drag on. What would you do for that kind of money? Would you walk away from your kid while he burned? She did. Or that's what a jury, a judge, and every higher court decided. This one hits different. No clean end. No easy answers. If you're still listening, you know why it sticks in your head. Mason Scott. 2002 to 2008. Never forgotten.